Join us on this week's Pembroke Towncast, where we'll have our usual look at the news, events, and sports going on. And in this week's chatty bit, we'll be asking the question: has the time come to pedestrianise Pembroke Main Street? Join us for that and more on this week's Towncast. Welcome back to this week's Pembroke Towncast with me, Lee G. It's been a while. My apologies for not posting and recording as often as I anticipated, but the end of the rugby season is nigh. I'm hoping that that will give me a bit more time to focus on Towncast and updating everything like we said we would. So with that in mind, we're gonna have a look at the news and events. I'll be honest, events this week I haven't had a chance to go in and look at anything in massive detail. So if you've got any events that you'd like me to talk about, by all means, tag us or post it on our Facebook page. And we'll talk about it next week. If you get into the habit of it, so will we, promise. So, first bit, Swans. So you might have seen the Swancast update that I've done. It's been a bit of a weird one with the Swans. So all four of our Swan couples have now finished their nesting process. Let me put it that way. So Arwen and Ariane Wyn at the very top of Mill Pond have abandoned the nest with no cygnets. And I don't know why, because they were looking really good. Yeah, so they didn't produce any. We then had the next couple to produce was Carwyn and Carrier. They produced one, and then this week Betsy and Berwyn also produced one. Down on the Castle Pond, where Dylan and Delith produced six. And I don't understand why there's such a big difference between the two. Dylan and Deleth were first to go down onto the nest. They were first to produce. They produced six, which is about what they normally produce. They do tend to have kind of 5 or 6. One year they did produce 7, but this year 6, all healthy. Some of them are quite funny. I say 6. There's 5 and 1, because 5 of them all tend to kind of go together, and you can see Delith is going, come along, kids, here we go, right, and now we're going to have some food, here you go, nibble, nibble. And then there's one that's just like, I'm off over here. So it's always a worry when I walk around, because I'm always counting them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, he's over there. So yeah, there is definitely one that's a bit of a rebel already. And I've seen him doing lots of really weird things. So they're up to 6, but something must be wrong with the mill pond. To the couples that are produced normally produce a 3 or a 4 cygnet brood most years. Last year was a bit exceptional, where with the rain, people lost lots of swans lost their nests last year. So to produce a 1 and a 1 and a none, where you'd be realistically looking at, there should be 9 cygnets on there, with 3 pairs produce 3 each minimum usually. So to end up with 2 is a bit of a concern for me. I'm hoping somebody is looking into that. If anybody is, or if anybody's got a way of looking into it, whether it's the water quality, or whether it's food, or whether there's predators around that I'm not aware of, do please get in touch, because I would love to know that there's something that we could do to make sure that that's not going to happen again with that one. So again, a quick traffic update for you. The traffic lights are now at the top end of Holyland Road, coming to the swervy bit just as you come through the railway tunnel bit. So there is a fair stretch. They finished off a load of it on Friday. So on Monday, that's going to move right up. They've started on Goose's Lane. So Goose's Lane is now closed. So that's kind of quite good, actually. It doesn't affect very many people. I know the people that use Goose's Lane, the residents in that area. Yes, that is a bit of a pain in the backside for them. But in terms of traffic around the town, minimal effect. I'll tell you what is having an effect on those traffic lights. And I've seen this, and I've this is consistent. This has been consistent for a while now, and this is more about us and our relationship with speed and our need to be in places. The amount of people I see jumping those lights dangerously now, dangerously jumping those lights, and particularly in the evening, using the coned off area where work happens through the day. So you can't do it in the day because there's people working there, but people do it at night where they will hammer it down there and they see a car coming the other way, and then they'll just pull in, move the cone out the way, drive into the cone or whatever, move it out the way. Um, Really, really dangerous for pedestrians. So that coned off area is because that's where pedestrians are walking. Um, I experienced it once where somebody was hammering it down there and had to pull in. Um, which when you're in the middle, like as a pedestrian, you don't know which side's green and which side's red, but it was fairly obvious that somebody had jumped the lights, got caught out, and traffic was coming the other way. And up till now, I've very much been on the side of residents, where residents need to park somewhere. That's what they need to do. But as I said a couple of weeks ago, where somebody keeps moving the cones and creating confusion, dangerous areas. So I've witnessed that firsthand this week, and it was somebody who had gone through the traffic lights and went, "Do you know what? Up yours, I'm going through." Made traffic stop the other way, then came back and on a separate night was changing all the cones, and it was a resident. So, and when I questioned him, I had a mouthful of abuse, which is pretty much standard for anyone in Pembroke. When you question anything, you just get a mouthful of abuse. Um, so yeah, so my kind of my balance has now very much shifted to the other side of it, where those cones are there for safety purposes, and if residents don't like it, tough. Just, that's unfair. That's unfair because it is based on that one guy and his big white van, and an ego the size of Mars. So, but yeah, we just need to have a better understanding that it's not just all about you. The delay on those lights can be quite long because it has been quite a distance between the two. That doesn't give you the right to jump the lights because you're frustrated because you'll be 2 minutes late home for tea. So, have a bit of common sense and a bit of courtesy to others, particularly pedestrians, because what's happening is the residents are parking further onto the pavement, so pedestrians can't get past. So pedestrians have to adjust as well. So a little bit of understanding from everybody might help a lot. And if you're the guy in that white van wearing flip flops driving that van, you're an idiot. So yeah. Anyway, let's move on to what should we move on to? Well, so I've got a bit of news to share with you. Okay, so let me just share this screen. So this is an article in the Telegraph that kind of tweaked a little bit of interest this week because it is about the flats above the co-op. So this is a standard Google image. It's quite interesting because you can tell when it was taken because the covering on the flats, the work at the back there. So, but in this area here, in the old co-op building, that was debated by town council this week. which I was due to go to. I was meant to go and just have a look and see how it was happening, but been a bit of a crazy week this week. So those they were when the co-op sold them, they were changed into holiday flats, and then you might remember that there was a cafe underneath. Um, and now all of that's gone. It's not there were holiday flats above, cafe underneath. None of that is now there, and they want to turn them into flats, which, as I remember it, was their original plan. And there was an objection because this is town centre and it should be kept for certainly the ground level should be part of the town centre. So, application recommended for approval at the June meeting of Pembroke County Council Planning Committee. Uh, sought permission to change 9 holiday lets into flats, so residential flats. That was supported by the town council. So, plenty of debate about this. Plenty of debate. Certainly, that base level with that cafe. When they put that cafe in, they reluctantly put that cafe in. This I've been told from 2 and a half different sources that when that cafe was put, they didn't want to put that cafe in. That was an afterthought, and they didn't want to run it. The idea was is they were going to get it going, and then they would lease it to somebody, but they were charging an astronomical amount for both the holiday lets and for the cafe, and none of it worked. If you're going to charge for a 5-star holiday accommodation, then it needs to be above and beyond. If you've got to access that accommodation down a dodgy little alley, it just didn't feel like 5-star accommodation. Lots of issues with it, and certainly the cafe. So I went to that cafe a couple of times, um, and it could have been absolutely amazing. It really could have been a fantastic cafe, a real asset to the town centre, but it just never felt like there wasn't a menu. I went in there once. There wasn't a menu. There was just the stuff behind. They didn't know if it was sit at the table and somebody will come and take an order off you, or whether you had to go to the counter. I ordered at the counter. I sat down. Somebody came to take my order. I said I'd already ordered. Said, "What table are you?" I don't know what number table. It didn't feel like it was done very well, but it really could have been. It's in a great location. It's right next to the bus stop. It's that in the busy part of town where you're a 2-minute walk from the castle. That could be a really, really good cafe. Where if you look at somewhere like Garden Centre, Cosh Garden Centre, Manor Beer Garden Centre, same people. Now they really know what they're doing with cafes. Yeah, you try and get in there, most days you're like, okay, am I going to get a seat? Because this place is going to be rammed. Pembroke, you know, yes, we've got the Rose Cafe now, and we've got Food at Will's. We've still got Far in the Town. Forgive me. We've got a couple of places to go. You can never have too many of these places because people will come, particularly the amount of visitors that we do get to Pembroke. So yeah, converting this back now to residential. I mean, I think the flats above, yeah, maybe that's not an issue converting it to flats above, but certainly on the ground level, Main Street, surely we can find something better to do with that than turn it into a house. Um, I have a couple of suggestions where I shared the post on our social media. Could we not make this into an activity centre, a play group, a play area, your soft play area, something like that, with a cafe, or which is a really good suggestion, Paul. Thank you. So there's lots of stuff that we could do. We just need somebody to have the oomph to go and do it. So I'm going to talk about Main Street in my chatty bit anyway, but that's kind of my starting bit. There is like, how do we do something better with that? So that was in the news this week as well. So yeah, Lovely, jubbly, well done on that. But that will kind of mishmash into what we're going to talk about with my chatty bit. So just a little bit about events then. Like I said before, I haven't really had a chance this week to look into what's going on, and we've got something special coming up. I've heard that the barn dance was really, really good out at Cedar Barn. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be having a few more of those in future. Who knows? Maybe even a couple in town. That would be lovely, wouldn't it? So if you've got any events going on in town, please do let me know, particularly pub quizzes, bit of a pub quiz freak. So if anybody's got any pub quizzes going on Tuesday night, Wednesday nights, whatever, Race Across the World finishes this week on a Wednesday, so I guess that makes that a bit easier. Yeah, let me know on that. And with that in mind as well, as always, I'm looking for other people to come and join me on Pembroke Towncast. So if you love our town, yeah, and you want to shout out the positivities in our town, and you want to have genuine conversations about how we make a town better, then this is the place to do it. If you want to do something for your town, but you might not be able to offer as much as setting up a volunteer society or whatever, but you want to feel like you're doing something, come and have a chat on the Towncast, because this would be perfect for you. You can message me on any of my socials, Towncast Pembroke, or you can drop us a line on ilovetowncast@gmail.com. Okay, so let's do the chatty bit. So this is the bit where I'm talking about where it would be much easier having somebody else on to chat, because otherwise I am literally talking to myself through this. So before I throw this out there, okay, just going to say that this hasn't come from anything. There are no plans for this. There are no I've not had a sneaky look at something. There isn't a document anywhere about this. Okay, it is literally just in my head. This would solve a lot of issues. Okay, so and I know that straight away some people are going to throw their arms up in the air and get all hissy about this. Okay, so bear with me, because like I said with the Valero bus, there's bits and bobs that need to be ironed out, but I think this is a genuine idea. So what I want to talk about is it time to pedestrianise Pembroke Main Street? Okay, so calm. First of all, we do this every year for the fair. Yeah, we close off all the Pembroke Main Street for the fair for a couple of nights here, and actually, traffic wise, not that major an issue. I'm not even going to propose going that far. Okay. So I'm going to take it back a little, yeah, and back to kind of that story you were just talking about visitors in the town centre. And I'm going to share with you a little bit of my experience over the last couple of weeks about stuff happening in the town centre, and mainly the issue with cars. Okay. Not entirely, but mainly. So let's talk about the issue with the traffic lights. There's a constant issue with cars and blockages at 6 o'clock or 5, 6 o'clock every night, particularly on Thursdays and Fridays. And then you go. So I was walking the dogs on Friday. I'd gone along the mill pond and come to the zebra crossing. So as I'm coming through Main Street, first of all, up the far end of Main Street, loads of visitors around. Obviously, a busload of some sort, and then 5 or 6 people with whopping great big backpacks on. So it felt, I don't know, loads of people here walking across Mill Pond. Then there were another group, lots of groups of people that were taking photos of the castle. Some were taking photos of the swans. There were families, feeding the swans and whatever. I felt, bubbling. This is how it should be. I didn't get to the zebra crossing, so I've got to the end of Mill Pond, and I'm going to cross over on that zebra crossing. And like I said, there were loads of people around. So there was a group of about 5 or 6 that came from the castle side, crossed over, looked like they were going up to the pub to get a drink or meal or whatever. So they crossed one way, and as they were crossing, a Mercedes comes down, slows down, wasn't in any particular rush, slows down, stops there, and then as they crossed, somebody else kind of crossed as well behind them. And then it was my turn to cross. So we're talking maybe 30 seconds, 35 seconds of that Mercedes might have been there. And then as I'm crossing, somebody else is coming the other way. So we're talking about maximum 40 seconds. And then this guy in the Mercedes is revving his 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 car. And you know that bit where they shunt forward, really intimidating the people crossing the zebra cross. Visitors to the town who were crossing the zebra crossing. And then when they'd finished, I mean, they hadn't finished crossing the zebra crossing, but they were out of the way. He then goes out and makes a point of going out and round wheel spins and goes up the hill. And you think, like, come on, fella, these are visitors to the town. This is We need to make space in the town that is safe for visitors, and we keep idiots like that away from them. Okay. So there's things like that. And then, so a couple of weeks ago, I needed to drop the dogs at the vet. Okay. So Medivets at the far end there. Um, so I drove through once, completely empty, picked the dogs up, came back all full, and I'm like, okay, where do I park now? How do I do this? So I had to go round again and round again. Ended up kind of a little bit further past, and then walk back. Actually, only took me 30 seconds, maybe a minute or two of walking, not a major issue. And then this thing came up with the flats, and somebody said, difficult trading conditions in Pembroke at the minute. And most days I walk past the commons. That car park is full. Most days that car park is full. Yeah, which is why it's a 20-mile-an-hour zone. The issue is that we don't have enough of a pull to get them from the castle. This is our jewel in our crown. And I know it's not a town thing, it's not a council thing, it's owned by a private trust. Yeah, so it's a business on its own, and they do what's right for them. And I got no problem with that at all. Absolutely no problem at all. But that is the jewel in the crown that brings people to our town. A bit like beaches in Tenby, that's why people come. Okay. We don't have enough to drag them through Main Street and go, come and have a look. Come and have a look what's at the far end of Main Street. You're here. Let me get my hands right now. You're here. Come and have a look over here. And at best they might walk down the hill, but you try to walk down the hill and you're instantly challenged with traffic. And you go, okay, well, do you know what? We'll call this a day. We'll go back. So we have to find a way of bringing visitors through Main Street, but also getting residents to use Main Street more. If you look at what businesses are for sale in Main Street now, it's quite shocking. Yeah. I know of 4 businesses that are for sale in Pembroke Main Street. And you're like, wow. And then you add in the co-op building, you add in the Red Kite building that's now vacant and up for sale. And the, some of the businesses that are for sale are just advertising the building with could be residential, and when we talk about looking after our town centre, this is up to us now as residents to make sure that those businesses have a reason to stay. We can't force them to stay. We can't turn around and go, you must stay. We have to make it worthwhile them staying. And we do that by buying things off them, recommending, so supporting them. Okay. So, and this is where the pedestrianisation comes in. Okay. from the looks of things, Pembroke Town Centre is about to undergo a massive change. Yeah, and you will see lots of shops closing and different shops opening, and this is common through town centres. So you can look at this one of two ways. You can look at this and go, "Oh, this is going to be awful. Lots of shops are going to leave," or you can look at it and go, "Do you know what? We've now got an opportunity to shape what kind of shops replace them because they will be replaced. Okay, people will come." And then you go, right, okay, how do we make that happen? So this is where the pedestrianisation comes in. If from the corner of the church where Rowley's chip shop is, so from that corner up to uh, end of Chainback, so where the vets are, yeah, if that was pedestrianised, you could do cafe culture on the streets. You could do events in the streets. You could have street entertainers. You could have street markets in the streets. Okay, you could have a load of things going on in the town centre to attract people into the town centre. It requires businesses um, doing things differently, so that the cafes that are there would automatically have another 7 or 8 covers because they'd have stuff out the front. That may mean that they need a few more waiters, waitresses, another chef. Who knows? Yeah. Why is that relevant? Well, what would need to happen is we would need to pedestrianize it and make those um, uh, cafe areas or whatever a bit better. Yeah, so either you put the whole street on one level or you make the pavements a lot wider and you have a single track through with deliveries that can happen up till 10 a.m. is that's usually how pedestrianised areas works, where you can deliver up till 10 a.m. in the morning and there's a couple of delivery areas, but it doesn't make that much difference because you're only going to have 10, not even 10. You'd have maybe 3 or 4 delivery lorries at the same time if you're lucky. Okay, that's worked before, could work again. If it was wide, a wide, and the cafe culture and the events weren't starting until 11 or whatever, then you could have, you know, lorries on the left and the right delivering. Yeah. This is what I mean about it's not a finite. This is how we do it. It's let's start the conversation. The flip bit of this now then is when you get to the far end, and this is where where we talk about access to the main street. Okay, I suggest a very limited drop off zone at top of the hill. So you'd sweep round to the right, like you do on the fair, except that would all be one straight through. Yes, there would probably be a roundabout at the bottom of where the Commons meets the turn off for Monkton and the bottom of that Castle Hill bit there. You probably need to put a roundabout in there just to manage traffic a little bit better, but it can be managed. You'd have two-way traffic going through there. The only issue on that bit there is the access to the doctor's surgery and coming out of the doctor's surgery. How does that work? Could be that can be managed. That can be done differently. You then get into right, okay, at the other end of town, what you would then do is you would make that two-way, and you would come up on the co-op side. Yes, you'd be able to drive up on the co-op side, swing around the back of Chainback, not Chainback, East Back, with the big churchy place is you go round there and then back out. So it would be essentially, you could drive up, around, and back out. So and with another drop off zone there. So you're only really looking at a zone of maybe 100 meters, 150 meters pedestrianized, but you could cram a lot into that zone. You could really make a difference. And I don't think it would make that much difference to traffic. Okay. In terms of access to the town centre, there is a car park behind Main Street, so that can be used. That is standard. Paying for car parking is standard. Whether it's a 20-minute free thing or whatever, that's, that is there. You could drop off from the far end of town, go around that chain back area and back out, but it would increase the amount of accessibility to that pedestrian area. And then you could have additional items, you could have events, you could do stuff in there that would encourage people into that town centre. At the minute, with the best will in the world, there's very, very little that encourages either residents or visitors to walk along Main Street. It's a curiosity for visitors more than anything. What's at the end of the street? Nothing. Turn round, come back. Oh, well, there we go. That was 5 minutes. I'm not getting back. Yeah. For residents, we tend to use Main Street because we have to. There'll be the vets, so I have to take the dogs to the vets. So there's that. I stop off at the co-op on the way home. If there's a parking space, if they ever sort out their bloody car park round the back, that would be great. So there's that. There maybe the chemist. That's something that I might go and visit every now. But there's nothing there that I sit there and I go, do you know what? I really want to go into the town centre because and that's something that we really, really need to overcome. There are 10,000 people in Pembroke, 10,000 of us sitting in houses around the outside of Pembroke that we need to find a way to encourage into the town centre. If you've ever tried crossing the road at any time during the day in the town centre, absolute nightmare. It isn't a pleasant part of the town to visit. It isn't a pleasant part of the town to go and say, hey, let's spend some money. You know, are we cutting all? Somebody's going to say that we're going to, all those people driving through Pembroke are spending money. No, they're not. They're not spending money in the shops. They're driving through. Very few of them are stopping and buying anything because they're just driving through. If you're going into Pembroke Town Centre now, you're going there because you have a purpose to go there to do something, and we need to create more of those. And yes, it will be at the expense of the people that are driving through. If you're coming into Pembroke and you're going to Valero, instead of driving to the end of Main Street and then driving back out, you would go up around the castle side, down to the bottom, across the commons, and then turn up. I don't see how that's any different for you. And I know how much you value your time and getting to work. It might actually be a little bit quicker. Who knows? Same with getting kids to school. It would take a lot of traffic away from outside Grove. You want to talk about let's do the right thing? Let's take traffic away from outside of where kids are crossing, because not many cars would be going along to Main Street and then coming back, so they would be missing that. I think that's got to be a good thing. I don't see a downside to pedestrianising Pembroke Main Street in that way. We could have evening bars, you could have, music in the street in the evening for the cafes, there's all sorts of stuff that we could do there if the desire was there. Yes, it would take a lot of investment to do it. It'd take a lot of planning, it would take a lot of investment, but this is our town. This is our town. And if we're not going to support the businesses that are there, then those businesses won't be there. We know that lots of those businesses are looking at moving, but we also know that there are other businesses that want to move in if they can find the right premises at the right place, and if they believe that as residents we will support them. Those businesses exist. They will come. They will go to Main Street. If you're now turning around, you're going, hey, look, we've got a brand new all singing, all dancing visitor centre at one end, yeah. And then we've got street entertainers and cafe culture going on all through the middle. Then we might do something with the Eastgate Centre at the far end to give somebody a reason to go all the way through. Hey ho, great, everything's fantastic. So that's my question. Is it time to pedestrianise Pembroke Main Street? we're gonna have to start doing something really, really soon to improve the environment for people who want to spend money, for visitors, and for residents. I think putting more cars on the road is not going to encourage visitors to visit more shops. Okay, and I see it quite a lot where visitors don't walk that main street thing, or if they do, they and it's dangerous. Let's be honest, it's dangerous to walk Main Street. We need to make it a pleasant environment for shopping, for existing, for going to. We need to make it a place where businesses can actually thrive, where they can compete, where there can be 7 or 8 cafes all offering different things, different options. We can have different restaurants of an evening when with seating outside. We can do so much more than is happening at the minute if we wanted to. And I don't know if Pembroke's got the drive and the desire to do that. I think there are businesses there really, really struggling that we would love to keep, but we have to find a way of supporting them. And said driving past them is not supporting them. Not a single person drives past those shops and throws a fiver out the window and says, "Hey, can I have a pint of milk, please?" Yeah, it's sacrificing driving through Main Street is not going to reduce the amount of people that are stopping at those shops. It might affect one or two, but it won't affect a massive amount. There are other solutions in place. There are car parks that can be used. It may mean that we have to review the car parks. There's dead space at the end of Main Street where there's a whopping great big church that's empty. There's a car park right in front of it. That could be an additional car park. There's things that we can do to make this work and to make it better. But it's up to us to do it. So please do comment, slag me off by all means, slag me off in your comments underneath. But tell me why you think having Main Street as it is now is working. Okay, tell me why you think having hundreds of cars driving through, not stopping, is improving the environment and making it a great place to go shopping. If you're gonna have a go, come and tell me what else you would do, okay? And I'll give you a straight question, because I know the first thing that somebody do is they'll say to reduce the business tax there, reduce how much tax businesses pay. All well and good, but then the money that goes into, what do you sacrifice at the other end as well? What are you willing to cut the spending on to lower business tax, or are you willing to lower business tax and increase tax on somebody else somewhere else? Let's have a reasonable conversation. Yeah, for me, yes. Where does that money come to pedestrianise Pembroke Main Street? The same place it comes from for the castle. Sorry, for the castle visitor centre. Yeah, central government structural funding could be a part of the solution. Not all of it, but it could be a part of it. And I'm absolutely, the more I think of it and the more I run through stuff in my head, that could be a really, really good solution. And we could be sitting here in 20 years' time going, do you know what? We need more space. We need more. There's businesses that want to come to Pembroke, small businesses. How do we encourage small businesses that want to grow? Yeah, that's where we could be sitting in a few years' time, or we could be sitting there going like, wow, we've just lost another 6 businesses off the main street. That's another 6 empty. Oh, let's just turn them into houses so that it doesn't look bad. I don't think that's the solution. I don't think that's the way forward. I think that's negative and regressive. I think we need to build a town centre that is vibrant, and we need to find a way of encouraging residents, 10,000 residents, people like me, people like you, that sit around the outside of that town centre, What do we need to encourage us to get into that town centre and go, do you know what? This was a really pleasant experience. I'm going to come and do this more often. That's my challenge to you. Put your comments and thoughts below, whether it be on our Facebook page or on our YouTube page. YouTube page would be great if you could. While I'm talking about that, if you're liking what you're hearing and seeing, please do like and subscribe to our YouTube page. It does make a massive difference to what we're doing. Spreads the algorithm, helps us with YouTube and getting the message out there. There are lots of other towns that are considering joining the Towncast. So, you may well see in the coming weeks, see Towncast Tenby, Towncast Haverfordwest, Towncast Milford, Towncast Nail. All of these places may well start popping up in the coming weeks. If you know somebody that wants to join the Towncast from a different town, by all means, put them in touch as well, because this could be something amazing. So, with that said, that's the end of my chatty bit. Let's go and have a look at the sports. Okay, so Sports Desk, as always, using allweathersport.co.uk. Always a great resource to go to. Cricket, rugby, football, youth rugby, junior football, all of that. So always a good place to go. So Division 1, no interest for us in Division 1, but a quick look at the table, just in case you were wondering. Carew up top, Vencroselli, Saundersfoot and Nayland. Quite tight at the top, particularly Carew and Cresselli. They play each other this week. Okay. Division 2 is where things start kicking off for us. Okay. Where we have Pembroke in the mix. So, last week, Pembroke lost to St Ishmael's. They were chasing 226 for 8. They reached 217, which is two really good totals there. Okay, by the way, to score 217 and to still come out with a loss is harsh. So yeah, not to worry on that one. Week before, also lost to Cresselli second. So started the season really well, little wobbly bit, still in third, still in third. 4 wins, 3 losses, 103 points, chasing 136 at the top there. So, the good news on this is that Pembroke has played top 2 teams. They played the teams above them. So it should, in theory, get easier from here on in. Fixtures for this week then, at home to Carew seconds, which if we look at the table, Carew seconds, yeah, a little bit below. So down the bottom end of the table. That should be a reasonable win for Pembroke this week. Realistically, we need to get back onto the winning track. So Pembroke at home to Carew seconds on this weekend, which would be the 14th. So well worth a little trip up there if you're bored. Okay. Division 3 then. So in Division 3, we've got Hundleton, who beat Kilgetty last weekend. We got Lamphy, who lost to Larne, and we got Stackpole that beat Nayland seconds. And again, some really decent totals there. 209, 104, and yeah, okay. So let's have a look and see where we are in the table there. So we've got Fishguard and Pembroke Dock on top, Hundleton in third, then Stackpole and Lamphy, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Lamphy in sixth. I am surprised to see Lamphy down in sixth. I'll be honest. I think we said this at the start of the season. Lamphy really should. Lamphy used to be the team in Pembrokeshire. Lamphy used to be, right up there. So to see them struggling in Division 3 is a shock. But fair play. Hundleton, Stackpole, doing really, really well on that. So let's have a look at fixtures for this weekend for Division 3 then. So Hundleton host Larne. That'll be a good game. Lamphy travel to Nayland seconds. That will be a tough game. Nayland seconds are a good team. And then Stackpole host Haverfordwest seconds. Again, a tough game, but doable. Haverford seconds just below them, and if Stackpole can win this weekend, then that opens up a little bit of a gap between them and that lower half of the table, and you're very much looking at the top half of the table for the end of the season. Lose to Haverford this weekend, and you're very much in the mix of mid-table kind of area. So a really important game for Stackpole this weekend. Same for Amphi. If they're going to do anything, they need to start turning around some wins, and should be a good game at Hundleton as well. Let's have a little looky in Division 4. So, yeah, Pembroke seconds in this one. So, good win last weekend with Pembroke seconds beat Narberth seconds. So to post 206 for 5, okay, for a second team in Division 4, that's a really good total. To then bowl Narberth out, well, no, they didn't bowl them out, 70 for 9. They restricted them to 70 for 9. I mean, as a purist, that's great. That says to me that there were a lot of overs, there were a lot of maiden overs in that game where nothing happened whatsoever. So just have a quick look at the week before on that then as well. There we go. So Loreni seconds lost to Pembroke seconds. So there's been a fair bit there of local stuff lately. Seconds look like they're having a decent season. So yeah, there we go again. Top of the table. It's close between Pembroke seconds, Saundersfoot seconds. The only loss this so far this season has been to Saundersfoot. So yeah, that's shaping up to be a good end to the season on that. Fixtures for this weekend then. Yeah, we're away St Ishmael's seconds. Let's have a quick look. St Ishmael's mid-table. So that should reasonably be a comfortable win there for Pembroke seconds this weekend. Okay, Division 5. Let's have a little look in Division 5. So here we go. Hundleton seconds beat Cresselly thirds. Lovely jubbly. I think that's the only bit we've got in there. Week before, Hundleton seconds lost to Harford West fourths on that one. So we are Hundleton seconds in the table in Division 5. Yeah, probably closer to the bottom end than they would want to be. But that said, they've got a game in hand. There's opportunities to jump. I think the top three sides, which is Herbie, Lechrid, and Doc seconds. I think there's a bit of a gap there that takes a bit of winning. You're gonna have to work really hard to close that gap, but stranger things have happened. So yeah, this week visiting Whitland seconds, which is the game in hand effectively on that. So that's a mid-table clash that should be a bit of fun. And in Division 6, we've got Lamphy seconds. Crikey, hang on. Let's have a look at this one. Yeah, Lamphy seconds and Pembroke thirds. So Pembroke thirds beat Lamphy seconds, bowled out for 73 and then passed that for the loss of 1 wicket. It's not bad. That's not bad. I always wonder where Pembroke thirds play. It must mean the first and seconds are both away at the same time. That just takes a lot of organisation in that one. So where are we in the table? So Pembroke thirds, top of the table, played 6-1-5, which is quite good. But this is the worrying column over here. Games abandoned. Now that could easily be weather. But more often than not, down at this end of the thing, it's people not raising teams and what have you. So, yeah, unbeaten so far, which is where they need to be. And fixtures for this weekend, away to Lechrid thirds, bit of a trip, but I'm imagining that the journey back will be. I think it'll take quite a while because there's a lot of pubs in between Lechrid and Pembroke on that one. So I'm just going to have a little scoot down some of the cup competitions because I haven't really done much with cup competitions so far this year. I don't think we've got any real. So we've got down the bottom here, we've got Lamphy lost to Hook and Stackpole beat Crimmick with a walkover. Um, yeah, I mean, Harris and Allen Bowl does get a little bit confusing as well. Um, so Neyland beat Pembroke. There we go. So we got knocked out of that one anyway on that. Dougie Morris Cup. This is a bit more straightforward. So Kiru beat Pembroke, so knocked out of that one as well, which is that would have been one that definitely would have been targeted because that was an opportunity to cause a couple of bloody noses on that one. And the Alec Colley Cup, I don't know where we are on that. Lamphy, there we go. So this is only just getting going. Lamphy and Kilgetty on the 11th, which will be Wednesday, Thursday, I think, something like that. Let me have a little look on that. 11th is Wednesday, yeah, on that. So Wednesday night fixture, Lamphy and Kilgetty, which is great. So that concludes our news desk. If you've got any news items that you want us to have a little look at, by all means, tag us in a post, send it in, whatever you want to do. But let us know somehow, and we will do our best to put it on the show. And that kind of wraps everything up for this week. Thank you very much for your time and your attention. Thank you very much for the comments. We have got quite a few bits lined up, some interviews, conversations, things like that. What I really, really need is to have somebody sat here with me. So literally all you need is a laptop. If you've got a mic and headphones, great. But if not, don't worry. It's more about you being part of the town. So if there's anything you'd like us to talk about, if you want to come and join us, drop us a line on ilovetowncast@gmail.com. All that's left for me to say from here on in is have a great week, and I shall see you again next week. All the very best.